It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. June 30th, last day of June, last day of first quarter, last day of the first half of the year. And this is the B block, the Bravo block, which is Brad's top three. And John, have you just given up on your theory that I'm just gonna peter out, pardon the phrase, on this segment and not do it anymore? What day is this? Is this a day like number 66 or something like that?
Nah, Brad, you jinxed yourself because it's day number 13, which even though it's Taylor Swift's favorite number, is also historically an unlucky number, and we're not through it yet, so I wouldn't celebrate yet, Brad.
And it was the number of a very famous St. Louis Rams quarterback, if you remember that as well, too.
It was. The good old Kurt Warner was number 13.
Yes, he was. Okay, you ready for? We bring the ladies in. Ladies, you
ready?
I
love you. Have the best song there is, Brad.
It's time for Brad's top three.
It is. It's time for Brad's top three. And the ladies want to sing it more than just once. Ladies, one more time. And how do we start it off? We start it off with...
It's number three.
It is number three. John, you think I would learn. You think I'm like the kid that once you touch the hot burner on the stove, you'd say, oh, I'm not going to do that again. You think I'd learn, right?
Oh, did Lucy pull the football away from you again, Brad?
Yesterday, I'm driving around listening to, actually this was on Saturday, I'm listening to NPR, okay? John's laughing already. Okay.
Talk about a man who is a masochist, a man who loves to feel pain.
Okay, let me just say that, and John, you can agree or disagree with me. No matter what the story is, somehow or another, they weave into the story transsexuality or bisexuality or one of the LGBTQ mafia things. You know what I'm saying? It's
some kind of intersectionality has to be a part of every story.
Right. They had an interesting story about Sally Ride. Remember Sally Ride? Okay, first off, a very impressive woman. Okay, I'm going to read her degrees just from Stanford. Okay, let me go back. I want to go back to, hold on, I'm going to go back to the very part of this. Okay, from Stanford, she has the following degrees. I had it here. Okay, she has a BA, a BS, an MS, and a PhD. Okay, first off, John, Stanford is what? Probably one of the top 10, top 20 universities in the country, would you say?
Yeah, definitely top 20, arguably top 10.
Right. Okay, so she's got 4 degrees. Not bad. BA, BS, MS, PhD. Okay, she was, I don't know, was she the first woman in space? Was that what the whole deal was when she was on?
I think she was. I think that was her gimmick, yeah.
Okay, very impressive woman. So, what is the story on NPR about? Guess what, John?
Oh, was she a lesbian?
Yes, she was a lesbian. Oh,
God. Didn't we know that before this, or is this like new information?
Well, that's because the story was a documentary about Sally Ride and her lesbian activities and the girlfriend that she had for, I can't remember if it was 27 or 37 years. Now, the sad part of this is Sally Ride died relatively early. She died in 2012. She was only 61 years old. Matter of fact, she died July 23rd, 2012. She was born in 1951, May 26. Sally Kristen Ride, okay? So they go on and on and on about this, about how Sally kept this private. John, I don't understand this whole thing. And I'll give you a perfect example. When John and I decided to do this show, John came to me and he said, Brad, before we do the show, I have to tell you a couple things that may impact whether we do this show or not. I go, John, knock yourself out. He said, first off, I'm a trisexual and sometimes I'm a quadsexual. And I go, John, I don't care. And then he goes, well, there's one more thing. I go, what's that? He says, I like to dress up in a furry costume as a cotton boll, and I want to have my partner spray Roundup on me. And I said, John, no problem. I don't care. That's my problem with this thing. I don't care. I mean, why is it that we have to have this sexuality thing thrown in front of us all the time? It's to the point where the guiding light or the guiding path in your life is your sexuality. You're not going to say that you are a talented artist or that you saved a life by resuscitating a kid when he was 3 years old and fell into the swimming pool, or that you were an Eagle Scout, or your mother, you took care of your mother for 20 years because of the fact, or you were a Rhodes Scholar, or you graduated from Harvard Law School and you used your degree to help the industry to stay out of jail.
Yep.
Why has it got to be all the sex things? I don't understand it.
So I agree with you totally. And I'll quote a young woman I had a conversation about this very topic with, Brad. A brilliant young woman, a member of, let's call her Gen Z, because she's in her early 20s. But we were talking about the type of victim mentality that a lot of women her generation have. And she said that a lot of her friends, a lot of the people she knows, I should say acquaintances, not friends, she said they use anxiety as their identity. And in this case, Brad, it would be using whatever your sexuality or your preferred, whatever you're into, as your entire identity. And so instead of doing what you suggested, Brad, which is point to your skills, your talents, your accomplishments, whatever you do in your profession or your personal life that you take great pride in, like for accomplishments and actions, instead of that, you either choose, oh, I'm such an anxious, neurodivergent person. It's who I am. I'm so anxious. Please hold me. Or I happen to be trisexual, or I happen to be a pansexual. That is who I am. You get what I'm saying? They take an entire identity and make it all about them.
I do, but why does NPR? And the interesting thing was this was on All Things Considered. This was like the last segment of All Things Considered. I believe it was like 4:45. Okay, the very next show that comes on NPR. And I've always found the thing fascinating with Sally Ride. One of the things they did mention in this segment, which I thought was very interesting, they had some clips of Sally Ride doing press conferences, and one of the reporters asked her a question, and it was interesting because they pulled the soundbite, and I did think it was funny, sad in a way, because the reporter said, "If a problem would occur on the space shuttle, would you weep?" And I'm going like, and they even said, that would only be asked by a male reporter to a female. And I'm going like, I agree. That question was
that's true. That's very stereotypical there.
Question was totally out of line. That is the angle I would want to hear. But the whole thing was they talked about how she hid her relationship and she got married to her partner. Her partner's named Tam or something like that. And this whole documentary is about them hiding their identity and them hiding who they are. They're lesbians. I'm going like, I don't care. To me, and I truly don't care. I have had people in my life come out to me and say, I'm homosexual. I go, so what?
Yeah, who cares?
Right.
Or who cares that I want to dress up as a cotton boll and have Roundup sprayed on me?
Right.
But then I go to Brad Hildebrand, and Brad doesn't want to buy the name brand Roundup. He wants to buy the generic Roundup. He wants to buy Ground Clear. And then he says that once he sprays it on me, I'm actually sterilized. And that's always been a fight. The most important thing, though, Brad, is that we can all appreciate whether she was in the men or women or none of the above. She was also the inspiration for the beautiful song Mustang Sally. Ride, Sally, ride.
I don't think that was the case. And by the way, it's funny you should bring that up because I do have some Roundup questions for you.
I'd love to answer them, Brad.
That'll be in C Block.
Love it. I love it. Let's do it.
Here's my bottom line. Sally Ride, an amazing woman, a trailblazer, an incredibly talented woman, a super smart woman, a very accomplished woman. Leave it at that. Can we just do that? You know what I'm saying, John?
I think so. And you know what? They said in the movie Aladdin, Brad, on a magic carpet ride. We didn't know they were talking about Sally when they talked about a carpet.
I'm not touching that. Okay.
It's time for Brad's number 2.
Brad's number 2. Okay.
It's time for Brad's number 2.
Say it twice. Okay. Did you see this article? I know you did. It was in the Missouri Independent about the problems with the Post-Dispatch. Did you read this article?
Yeah. So, and Brad described this. There's a couple legal things going on here, right?
Well, all sorts of crazy stuff as a result of hacks. And they had another one beginning of this year. Wasn't that the case? It was like in January, February where they got hacked and the computer system went down and they talked about they couldn't do the billing and they couldn't do part of the production in the newspaper.
Yeah, like part of the print publication. So there's two different tracks here, right? Like one of them is a class action lawsuit about Lee Enterprises giving data to Facebook without telling customers, right?
Right, and that's sort of complicated because essentially they had some kind of a sharing. Where were they getting the data? Were people who had responded to articles in the Post? Was that how they were getting the data? What was?
Yeah, I believe it. It's something like that. I'm not sure exactly how they got that data though.
Somehow or another, long story made short, somehow or another, the people who were interacted with the publications were funneled into Facebook. Wasn't that the deal?
I believe it was. Yeah, and this piece, by the way, we should note, it was written by the Iowa Capital Dispatch, and you can find it on the Missouri Independent website back on Friday.
And John, you can also find it on westplexnews.com. It's right there.
Very good. Yeah. Does it have a byline that says Brad Hildebrand?
It does not. Okay, so the second segment of this is the people that are suing FAR, and you know this better than any. What's the second segment of the legal problems they have? What was it? Was it their identity was exposed in the deal with when they got hacked? Wasn't that the deal?
Yeah, I believe, but it's coming from employees, I believe, right?
Right. So they are, and they talked about they spent $2 million to fix this, and they're doing this and they're doing that. John, I have the solution. And it's already started. The wheels are already in motion, okay?
Do the Hoffmans need to buy it and move the operation to Augusta?
John, you got me. Why did you? Boy, do you got like your ESP powers going this morning or something like that? Are you like?
No, actually what I did was I emailed the Post-Dispatch. I said, I know that you have Brad Hildebrand's login information because he goes to your website. Can you send it to me? They said yes. And then I connected it to your mind, and then I put it all together, Brad.
The Hoffmans have bought a number of publications across the country, and they recently bought the Washington Missourian, which John uses quite a bit. And quite honestly, I have some beefs with Washington Missourian, but they are a very good a news gathering organization.
For local, and especially, where else are you going to hear what's going on in Union, Missouri?
Right, and where else are you going to hear what kinds of food are going to be at the Town and Country Fair this year, which weren't last year? And where else are you going to see on the front page of the paper a kid who is like running on a playground and he falls on his face and breaks his nose, and they have that on the front page of the paper? Okay, the Post-Dispatch. And you think we're kidding? That has been mentioned earlier this year that the Hoffmann family of companies, as they're known, is interested in buying the Post-Dispatch. Now, all I can say is I think that would be a great idea because all you have to do is look at all the successes that the Hoffmans have had. They bought the Schulte Bakery in Washington, a storied baker for years and years and years, and they shut it down. They bought numerous pieces of property in Warren County, the Emmaus home, which was going to be an incredible, like a luxury resort, and they shut it down. They bought the two biker bars in Defiance, which were insanely popular. Matter of fact, I was through there over the weekend, and there was nobody at either of the biker bars at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday in the summer. There was a time when you couldn't get close to the biker bars. You had to be very careful driving through Defiance because people were just out in the street. They had their motorcycles parked 2 inches away from the roadway, and it's gone. Should I keep going? They were going to build a fancy schmancy hotel in Augusta. They decided they're not going to do that. They were going
Brad,
to
if you keep going on, David Hoffmann is going to pull out the old checkbook. He doesn't do it himself anymore. He has one of his minions do it, I'm sure. He's going to buy Pick and Pull on Hall Street and shut it down just to spite you.
I got a feeling you're right.
And then I hope you're proud of what you've done.
You ready for number one?
I sure am.
And now, Big Finish, Brad's number.
It is time for Brad's number one. What's interesting is I did my top 3 list last night, and early this morning we play some best of the Brad and John show. And there was one that was playing, was talking about the Riverfront Times. And John was mentioning, well, they've got a plan. It's a hedge fund. They know exactly what they're doing.
Uh-oh. Did you go there and you have some data for us, Brad?
The hedge fund people, they got lots of money. They probably brought in 20 consultants. Because I was going like, okay, what are they doing with this? They trashed this great...
So get to the punchline, Brad. I want to hear where I'm wrong.
Have you looked at the Riverfront Times lately?
Will it give me a virus or chlamydia?
It is morphed into something totally different now. As a matter of fact, they're flaunting, which I believe, let me bring it up here.
I'm loading it right now.
They've morphed into something totally new. There's no news whatsoever on the Riverfront Times anymore. You see it?
No, I at riverfronttimes.com is down. Where do you go? RFTSTO?
Hold on, I was there last night. Here it is, right? Loading.
It could be my browser.
Okay. Their new thing is it is turned to the best of St. Louis, and behind that they have the circle R, which means they now have a trademark on the best of St. Louis. It's all about voting for people. And it's sponsored by every single, they've got all the categories, arts and entertainment. And they have like this, they have, these two ballet dancers, a picture. And then there's a little logo on the upper right-hand side, sponsored by CDB Kratom. And then the next one is food and drink, sponsored by CDB Kratom. Goods and services, sponsored by CBD Kratom. It's totally like a best of site now. There's no news.
Now, Brad, hold on. What is the domain of this?
Riverfronttimes.com. I'm looking at it right now.
See, it's not even loading for me.
Well, I'm looking at it right now. As a matter of fact,
no, I believe you. I'm just saying, but maybe my browser. I mean, it's entirely possible that how locked down my browser is that it views the website as being sketchy. I don't know.
The entire thing, no matter where you go on the site, if you go like in the pull-down menu, if you go to the pull-down menu, and no matter what you pull down, it's best of, best journalists, best neighborhood to live in, best photographers. There's nothing on it anymore. It's just, there's no news, there's no nothing. It's just, and matter of fact, it says, and they've got a banner that says, Best of 2023. Unearthing the Treasures of St. Louis. Vote for your favorite daily, August 9th through September 20th. Sponsored by, the whole thing is sponsored by, and it says, it's your favorite time of the year, St. Louis. The annual Best of St. Louis 2023 Readers Poll. Voting round is now open. The top 5 nominations in each category is on the ballot. Voting open until September 20th. The results will be published in our Best of St. Louis issue on September 27, 2023. Now, what's interesting about this is they are right on top of things. Okay, if you pull down the one menu, they have 4 categories: arts and entertainment, food and drink, goods and services, people and places, sports and recreation. Those are the only links on there. If you click on any of them, I'll just hit sports and recreation. It takes me to the best bike path, best bike shop, best bowling alley, best day trip, best gym, best hiking trail. It's the entire site's just a best of. Now, what's sort of interesting about this is I did this last night and it was sort of interesting. I went to best radio station, and the interesting part of this is they have 5 radio stations listed. Guess what one of the radio stations listed is?
KDHX.
Yes, which
of course it is.
I don't know if it's officially been switched over or not, but not long for this world as the hipster radio station's pretty much going to be a God Squad station coming.
Yeah, Brad, I got to tell you, I know we're up against time here, but I went on my phone as well to riverfronttimes.com. And my thing says Safari can't open the page because the server can't be found.
I'm looking at it right now.
Is it the Riverfront Times or just riverfronttimes.com?
I typed in riverfronttimes.com, RIVERT. It's spelled common spelling, riverfronttimes.com. It came right up for me last night. It's come up right for me right now, and it talks about all this thing. Like I said, and it's got some, it's got an image up there, and then you scroll down, and it's got all these blocks. Arts and entertainment, and like food and drink, it's got picture 2 burgers. People and places, sports and recreation, and everything is sponsored by, and it says powered by Scene Think. Let me see who Scene Think is. Who's Scene Think? Scene Think is a company. Local events start here. Marketing, curation, and editorial platforms for events and experiences. They're not even doing journalism anymore. They've thrown that to the wind. It's gone. There's no investigative reporting. There's no Danny Wicentowski, checking stuffs out. There's no Sarah Fenske digging deep into corruption in the city.
Well, they've all moved to St. Louis Magazine, Brad. So that journalism lives on. It's just, so your point is, and then I should stand corrected, Brad, if I said that the hedge fund was going to come in. Now, I believe that when the Riverfront Times was purchased, it was by a company called SEO Bounty, because we talked about that before, who just wanted to make it into a link farm. So it sounds like it's still pretty much just a link farm today, right?
But John, not to be critical of you, and you can probably go back and tell me that this discussion you had was on May 26th at 6:22 a.m. But you're the one saying, well, they're just retooling things. They've got these corporate geniuses behind the scenes.
And you know what I bet happened then, Brad? Considering they've apparently given up on any kind of journalism here, they probably decided that instead of losing money every year, for the sake of journalism, for doing what's right in the community, they said, we're going to cut our losses. We're going to make it a stupid, dinky little link farm we'll make enough to pay for the domain, and we'll take our assets elsewhere.
Apparently that's
and you know what? People that want St. Louis journalism can subscribe to St. Louis Magazine. Fenske and Nick and Wicentowski and all those guys are still doing journalism.
Oh, no, Wicentowski's at STLPR.
Oh, yeah, so that means he's not doing journalism, right?
No, he's doing sexual journalism because...
Oh, wow, Brad.
That's what it
Brad,
is.
Can you ask me some glyphosate questions in C Block?
I will.